what I'm going to be showcasing is a little bit of balayage. And, you know, balayage is one of those things that we always, the last little bit, it's really become popular. Would you agree? Right? The last 5 years? Yeah, thank you. Someone knows. And so the thing is, though, it has some limitations with it as well, right? Would you agree with that? Limitations are, there's people out here, so the limitations are not enough lift, absolutely, so not enough lift. What's another limitation sometimes? It's time, right? Time isn't always on your side, and sometimes we think balayaging can be time-consuming if you do it in more of like a tedious, typical method. So I'm gonna try and break that down for you, make it simpler. If there's one thing you gotta know about me, if we've never met before, fast, furious, efficient. How do you like that title?
Yes, we love efficient and fast and furious. So here are my three-legged mannequin, three-legged model. I'm going to be sharing a block coloring technique. So it's something I've been doing a lot in the salon. I'm going to be using a product. I represent Wella, and Sean uses Redken, and everything I'm doing on my mannequin and I have on my models behind me is one of our newest products called Shinefinity. It's a zero lift glaze. The colors are incredible, and I like to use glazes in the salon at the basin in a very creative way. So this technique actually relates to one of my models behind me, and I'm going to mimic the exact placement but use different colors. So I sectioned the hair into 4 quadrants. 2 huge quadrants at the back, so quadrant 1 and quadrant 2, and then 2 baby quadrants at the front. So 4 sections, except most of the hair is in the back area. And I'm going to be using 2 shades from Shinefinity, a level 6 and a level 8, and I'm going to be blocking them together. So applying, it's a very easy, quick technique. You can do it at the basin, or you can do it at the chair in your salon, and it's like, takes me usually 10 minutes, even 10 to 15 minutes, even on long hair, because it is something to go on the hair after it had been highlighted. So I'm going to start with my darkest shade first and just simply apply it from scalp to ends all the way through the back section.
All right, so what we've done over here is separated out my sectioning. Now, super straightforward and simple with the sectioning, but that's what works best for me, and I think all of us, simplicity, right? So all I've done is split it from ear to ear. You'll notice I go just behind the ear, just because you know a lot of people's hairlines aren't always the most abundant in that area, and you wanna make sure you give yourself enough hair to work with. So just behind the ear, then we're separating out the top from the side. What you wanna look at is where the head goes to bevel, so right on that bevel is where you're gonna determine that part. It's very important that it's not too high or not too low. You want to work where the round of the head is. Then we continue that section around to the back, giving you the top. Then you separate the occipital bone, giving you the back and the nape. We're going to begin in the nape, and we're actually going to work our way around the perimeter. So the reason why I'm doing that is because nowadays a lot of the trends with looks are brighter and lighter around there, not quite as bright necessarily throughout. So by applying in that area first, it's gonna lift faster and get brighter for me. Now, I'm gonna be working with, I'm just demoing with conditioner. I'm gonna give you a full tea on that. But the product of choice that I would work with for this, we have a new launch happening at Redken. Do we have any Redken users in the house?
Ooh,
then you Redken users know to be louder than that. Do I have any Redken users in the house? That's more like it. Now my family's here. So with that, we have a new launch of a new lightener coming out. It's called Flash Lift Power 9. That's right, 9 levels of lift. And so you know when I got it in the mail, I had to try it on my hair, and now I'm a backup dancer. So it worked perfectly because it lifted me to a clean level 9 all in one shot. So it's going to be a great tool for balayaging as well, because you're going to be able to get that extra lift with it. So what I've done with this sectioning is, you know, balayage is usually triangle sections. So here I see a square. So I'm going to divide that from the corner to the corner to give me 2 triangles, one on the top, one on the bottom. So with this bottom triangle, the first thing that I'm going to do is elevate the hair up, paint the underneath side, and then I'm going to bring it back down and paint the other side. So you can visually watch while I pass it back to Sonya.
Brilliant. So just applying shade number 1, my level 6, on the back quadrant, just working it through. I like to use the end of my tint brush almost as a rat tail comb and really work it in and make sure I've got full saturation. I think the reason why I wanted to share with you a glazing technique is glazes are so popular at the moment, and with the introduction of our new glaze Shinefinity, I'm thinking of different ways where it can be creative rather than just putting on that toner from scalp to ends at the basin. So just applying that through, and what I like to do, I'll just turn my mannequin round to the camera there. Once I've applied it through, using my hand to almost like a paddle to really make sure I've got full saturation. We don't want any hollow blonde areas showing after. I just take the hair and I would just twist it and place a foil underneath, or just twist it and have it hanging down so it's nice and simple and clean. Now I'm going to move to the opposite section, wiping my hands because that's my level 6. So wiping my hands on a towel before I move to my other quadrant. I'm going to turn her around. And now I'm going to just do this section in the higher level. So we've got level 6 here, and we're going to have a level 9 here.
Okay, so working through the triangles now, like I mentioned, the bottom one, I went through and did both sides. The top portion, I'm only doing the top side. Reason being, we want to keep contrast and dimension. A lot of the color looks today, your clients are wanting to see more depth, more contrast, and more pop. The only way that you can do that is with a less is more philosophy. And I know for a long time now, we've kind of believed in the million foil marathon with a lot of our clients, right? The only way to be a proper blonde is to have 10,000 foils and 3 hours later. But the reality is with the looks today, they're not created that way. It's really about being strategic with where you place it and having intention. And also remember, in order to see blonde get really light, you need to have some sort of contrast to understand how light it is. So the contrast in the balayage is the depth internally inside these sections. It's gonna look really intense, like there's gonna be a lot of blonde from this, but the reality is that painting only on the surface is the equivalent of one foil, like a slice, more or less. So this whole section is not going to be saturated. The thing that does change, though, on this one is what I do is I pick the halfway point of the hair length. So depending on what length it is, go to the halfway point of that, and then that's when you start to use your fingers to really squish it into the section to make sure you get full saturation. So the reason why I do the halfway point is because the hair starts to get thinner as it goes to the end. If you try and squish the product through high up, you're probably going to get a spotty result with it because it's not going to be able to transfer. So the other thing that you really want to look for is making sure that you have a really nice solid layer of product on the hair. So you don't want to see the color you're trying to lift. Very, very, very important in all coloring, but specifically with balayage. One other thing I want you to notice is, because I told you guys that I want to be super fast and efficient, I don't want to have to pick up cotton or plastic wrap. If anyone uses plastic wrap out there for your balayages, you deserve an award, because just handling that stuff is like a whole other level of things, right? So here, what I'm doing is having these two pieces, I don't need to place cotton underneath them because it's already separated itself by the way that I've drawn on those angles. So it allows you to work through really fast and efficiently without having to use any extra stuff. So I'm gonna jump into the side section here and show you one more bite of what that front triangle looked like and how I got more control over it. So again, you're seeing a square here. I'm going to divide that down backwards, diagonal back, like so. I'm going to clip the top piece out of the way, and then we're going to grab this front section, elevate it up, and I'm going to just grab some product and charge it a few inches away from the scalp. You can always add more if you need to. And then my tool of choice for this, I love this Redken edging brush. So what it is, it's similar to a makeup brush, but the bristles are designed for hair color, and they're soft and thick and fluffy. So what this does is it actually will diffuse this line for me in just a matter of a few strokes. How crazy is that, right? Usually you have to spend all of this time blending it. The thing I will say, though, is don't overblend, unless you're working on a lighter level. But if you're working on a darker level, if you blend it too much, you're gonna get warmth in there. So if you're really trying to get the maximum lift, Load it on nice and heavy, and don't be afraid of it looking intense. One final thing before I pass it to Sonya again is I want to let you know that I didn't color all the way to the ends because I need to have control over this section to be able to walk it back down again. So what I'm going to do is pinch and pull, real technical term, pinch and pull. And the reason why the pinching and pulling is important is because it keeps my top layer of hair from buckling so that I have another smooth surface to be able to work off of. And then I'll go in, and on the top layer, I do a diagonal back. So I'm going to bring the color up closer to the front, leaving depth through here.
So I've just done the 2 quadrants at the back. So we have our darker level on one side and our lighter level on the other. Now on the front 2 quadrants, I just turn her around, I'm doing the opposite. So here on the front quadrant, I'm doing the lighter shade, and then on this section, the darker shade. The reason I do that, I love that whole half head, one color and then the other color, and I thought I wanted to take it to the next level, just in the way of gloss or a glaze. And this is what I did on one of the models that I'm going to share with you later. So just applying my first color, my dark shade, now to this hair. And what's great about Shinefinity is the consistency is very, it's very, very thin, so you can work through the hair very easy. It's extremely versatile. You can use it for corrective work, and you can also use it for toning, for just simple one color, or you can use it as a creative glaze, which I'm doing today.
Okay, so finishing up working through the back here, you can see how fast I'm able to move through this head. Now, obviously I had to stop and talk for a little bit, but you can really work efficiently with it. The other thing that I want to tell you though is making sure, obviously I'm doing one side because it's easier for you to visually see on this one side, but if you were doing this on a client, you would want to make sure when you do one quadrant here, you would go to the other side, here, here, just to give you balance. And I say that might be common sense for some people, but one time I got so in my head about going through this side that I did the entire side of the head on the client and then realized, oh damn, it's all gonna process faster. So we had to do, I'm sure you guys are familiar with a special sport called sync yoga. You've heard of sync yoga before, where you gotta get them in a really weird position to rinse off the area that's processed without getting the rest of it. So that was a fun one. But anyway, definitely go side to side. Now, what I'm gonna do now is jump into the front. The face frame portion, the contour, has a different name for it, but they all mean the same thing, light around the face. So how I find this section here is I'm going to bevel the comb back where the head goes to round. So if we always work with balance and reference points, it's always gonna guarantee you that you're gonna get the best, most natural looking results in terms of where the hair is going to live. The tone can be completely unnatural and fully up to you, but by getting this placement, you can see here that this is exactly the piece that is that crucial face framing area. So we're gonna take this all in one section. I'm gonna elevate it up first, and then we're gonna get right onto the front. So I'm gonna load the product, take my edging brush, sweep it down, and then continue to paint it. Remember, we're not painting all the way, and by the way, your body position, you would obviously be here, but again, you couldn't see it that way, so this is not a fancy way to do it. This is just educational, so you can see it. Now what I need to do is walk it down and paint on this side, because that's the top layer that's gonna fall. So here I'm gonna pull it and walk it, walk it, walk it, boom, boom, boom. All right, perfect, and now I've set up the other side for me to be able to paint on. So on this, I go more diagonally back, give it a nice swipe, and then whatever you paint is basically exactly what you're gonna see as the face frame. So you can go as high up, you could go all the way up if you wanted more of like a 90s vibe as well, a bit more of a chunky front. So chunky front, that's my nickname. Back to you, Sonya.
You'll see that as this oxidizes, that it's mixed with its equal parts with its own activator. So as the color starts to develop, you'll see it start to get darker. But very simple, 4 quadrants.
So again, you can see moving through the top, it's all about being visual on the top layer and only doing the surface of it. So I'm not doing the underneath sides throughout the top anymore, again, to keep that depth and dimension. So here you can see exactly what's gonna happen. You're gonna have a highlight, drop down, highlight, drop down, highlight, drop down. Now, that's taking me to this section that was at the ear. When the direction of the head changes towards the back, what I'll actually do is switch them into triangles that are this way. So you can see here, we've got the triangle shape, wide, so it's narrow at the top. And then what I do is take this section, and I want my point of light to be connected closer here, drop down more here, because when you think about it, the hair is gonna fall, so I want that highlight at the top and more depth inside. So I'll elevate this up, put my brush in on the angle, sorry about that, and then take the blending. Thank you. Take the blending and then all the way down. Now, few final tips, pointers. If you noticed my stroke, it was a long one. There's no other way to say that. So you want to stroke the brush long on the hair versus small little strokes when you're doing balayage. When you do small little strokes the way we would normally hold a color brush, it tends to put it on and take it off, and it also takes a lot more time. So if you saw I'm holding my brush a little bit different, the movement's more in my elbow versus my wrist, and that allows you to really layer the product on thicker, work a bit more fast and efficient. One final tip for the road for you on this one is when you come to blending the color at the bottom and kind of really getting that full saturation on it, the last thing I like to do, because there'll be the line there, is make sure that you use your pinky finger and just rub it the opposite way. So once you do that, you get a really great blend with it, and you don't have to always look. Just know the line's gonna be there, hold it tight, use your pinky, and give it a blend. And that is the Express balayage technique. What do you guys think? Make some noise if you learned something.
Yes.
Yes, I love it for learning.